The best way to do that is trying to find creative minds, guys who will actually see a problem and try and address it innovatively, give us new ideas, and see which of the ideas do we actually seriously have a look at and try and implement. So that was really key when starting the business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today, all the way from Kenya, hello, Mambo, Kenya, I have ADAN MOHAMMED from Ecodudu, and I believe he's mentioned in this book and many other publications about Africa. And you guys know I love this book, and I love everything going on in Africa right now. He's gonna tell us what inspired him to take bug larvae and turn it into animal feed and be successful at it. This is going to be one of those rare finds. You aren't going to find another brother like this. I don't care. You might have to go all the way again around the world because he's doing something that, very few are doing. ADAN, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kellen. I'm doing good. Nice to also be on the show. So I'll just jump straight into what we do. And how we got here. Basically, I'll give you a brief preview of the history behind Ecodudu and how it started. So the idea came about when I was in campus. So I'm actually an engineer. So just fresh from campus, I went to work in an engineering firm, in a logistics company as an assistant engineer. But after 6 months of working there, I just felt like this is out of place. I don't need to be here. So I quit after 6 months. And then I found another job in a animal feed company. So that's actually where the basic idea of the animal feed and BSF and lava came about. So specifically, I was working in the aqua feed sector, dealing with the fish meal and fish farmers, and that's where we actually got most of the market information. And I saw an opportunity, especially in the proteins aspect of the business. So I actually ventured out. So I actually quit again the second time from the animal feed company and started my own. So basically what I did after that is basically copy what my boss was doing at that time. So basically taking all the ingredients and then mailing it and then sending it to the market. It failed at the first time spectacularly, but I also managed to set up the same, but with a focus especially on the animal feed for the fish sector. So my key point from here is that after listening to the clients, I saw there's a huge opportunity in not making the complete animal feed, but just to supply them with the protein, because from the formulations, protein is the most expensive component of the animal feed sector. So if you get that right, you get the whole value chain right. So rather than focusing on competition with other players who are making the complete feed, I asked myself, why can't I just focus on the protein and actually turn this potential competition into clients? So what did I do? I sold off all my assets in the previous business, and then used that funds to finance the startup of Ecodudu. So I met up with my co-founder, who had already started some research into the black soldier fly larvae. And from that, we were able to actually start the R&D stage. So we did actually 2 years of research into this project, trying to see how we can actually commercialize and what are the possible returns on investment. We officially incorporated the company in 2018. So legally we are 3 years old, but unofficially we are close to 4 years old. Yeah.
Well, and you can say those numbers and that even that you're still here, that's a great thing. But I think about the number of, you graduated, university 2016 and you're already here. A lot of folks, would say, well, he took one job and then quit and then created his own. A lot of folks who haven't taken that jump to entrepreneurship would say, how did you finance it? And how, let them know how you financed it so they can try to copy that same format.
Okay, perfect. So in terms of financing that, especially with my first business, I had to bootstrap. So that's where actually family, friends come in. So I had to start with that, but I actually started something really small just to get some traction in the market. So you always don't need to start really big. Just start with something small and then see how far it will take you.
Okay, so bootstrapping, no venture capital, no angel investors, just saving. And with that, I always like to throw that in. Where you weren't, probably living high on the hog, where you were, dating a whole bunch and paying for a whole bunch of dinners for other people, as well as buying fancy brand name things. That probably was not in your daily or weekly plan, correct?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because now since you've done so many interviews, people will look at you and say, "Oh, he's successful, and what has he done that I haven't done?" And a lot of people, they can look in their closet or they can look, in their garage, and then they can see what you did with your money and flipped it versus how they spent it as a consumer. Um, how do you know? And I'm just curious, just being nosy. How do you know like you have good feed for animals? It's not like they can tell you, hey, this is some good, bring me some more of this. Like, how do you know when you have a great recipe and that, you're doing your job right?
Yeah, so I think for this sector, the most important thing is that is science. So for you to know you have really a really good product is for you to take your samples to the labs. They'll give you a report on how good a product you have. So based on the report we got from the labs is that we're sitting on something that typically can offer a very good value proposition for the clients. So once we got that information, it was now all about how do we get this thing into the market.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I know for somebody who is thinking like, wow, he took, insect larva and made it animal feed. How does he even go about, how do you even collect insects of that magnitude for it to make a difference? And he has a great video. It'll probably show somewhere throughout this video, just to kind of show, because it's a beautiful, video you put together. But just, can you give some insight on how you collect that much larva? Do you have to do it in a lab, or does it start, in your backyard?
So actually, when we started, I started out in my backyard, as I've just mentioned. Back then, just doing it, and then members of my family actually coming to see what was actually working on, and people were like, "Oh my God, ADAN is going crazy and stuff. You should stop this. What the hell are you working on?" So it took them a while for them to see what I was actually doing, and I had to actually and that's a good thing, especially when you have a co-founder in a business. It's always recommended for you to get another pair of hands to help you along the way. So with my co-founder, we actually be able to develop a system that could be able to rear these insects on a mass scale. So we moved from the backyard to a facility, a farm, whereby we actually rear these insects in cages. So we put them inside cages. They mate, they reproduce, and we get the eggs. And then the eggs actually are fed on organic waste coming from food industries. And after feeding these insects, on the wastes, we get the two byproducts. We get the larvae, and what is left of the waste is also a fertilizer that is used for crops.
Now, you said family members thought you're crazy. You guys, ADAN is born and bred in Nairobi. This is a black man saying, I'm going to go in the backyard and start doing insect and reproducing. Who did you have any support at all, or did everybody just kind of think that you were just a mad scientist?
No, not really. The first time, of course, if you just show up with a bunch of larvae in your backyard, of course everybody's going to think you're crazy. But I think after I explained the theory and showed them how it works, I think gradually they started to accept. And that's where the support came in eventually.
Okay, and how long did that support take? Because interviewing so many entrepreneurs, whenever you have that initial idea, it's sometimes you're on a lonely island by yourself. You're the only one who gets it, besides your co-founder, that you get it. So how long did it take for that support to come? And did it only come when folks said, wait, he actually has a plan and this might make some money?
Yeah, I think it took us close to a year.
Okay. And then people, started supporting. That's that's. Now, have you always kind of been, you have the engineer mind. So have you always kind of been, outside of the box, and people say, okay, that's just, ADAN doing his thing. Has it always been like that, or are you used to kind of fitting in?
Not really. I think I started off as an engineer. An engineer's main role is to see problems and trying to find solutions for these problems. So, but I actually started in an engineering company. My main idea was to find employment, become an engineer, and that was it. But after a while, I found out that this thing is not cut out for me. I needed somewhere where I could actually do my own things. So I think back then that was the entrepreneurship in me talking, and instinctively I followed that gut feeling.
Okay. Sometimes in the show, I can already hear folks who, they don't fully understand how could he do this. And so let me ask the question and we get it out to say, I hear you talking about your co-founder. Is your co-founder a fellow Kenyan? Is he a Mzungu? Does he have deep pockets? Tell us about your co-founder.
Yeah, so my co-founder is Kenyan, a fellow African. In terms of deep pockets, no. So same actually, same position as I was. But the thing is with a co-founder is that you can always find someone, you can always delegate some of the tasks and help you also look at your business from another point of view. That's really important for me.
Yes, and I'm so glad to hear that, because it just shows the brain power in Africa, in Kenya. We always hear about a brain drain, and someone like you, having to come to Canada or the States, Australia to, have this go and have it be funded. Has angel investors or VC been able to impact your business at all?
Yeah, sure. So just after incorporation, what we saw is that now we took the product to market, and we start getting a lot of guys interested. So as you're speaking, there are a lot of guys, especially in the African market, trying to actually impact businesses that are founded by local founders. And in 2018, actually towards early 2018, just after incorporation, we managed to secure funding from a bank in Morocco to scale our business. So you find that yes, there are banks who are willing to finance, And then towards the end of last year, we got VC funding also to scale up our plants. So yes, right now, especially in the African ecosystems, there are very many opportunities, and we're seeing quite a lot of guys now coming in.
Okay, no, that's great. Are you still able, when they come in, are they coming in like the vultures? I mean, venture capitalists, are they coming in as angels? And are you still able to control your company?
Yeah, so the key thing, especially with the angel investors, is you need also to. It's not just about the money. It's also about how do you actually guys partner with these guys? What value are they actually bringing to the table? So we actually had a chat with an African founder of a VC company in Germany. Um, Actually, his model is I don't think there's any VC firm currently in the world doing what these guys are doing. So they come in that they tell you, okay, we're going to give you results for equity. So for example, you tell us what milestones you need us to do for you. If we do that, you compensate us with equity. So it's not like different, the conventional VC whereby they just pump in money and then they expect you to deliver. If you don't deliver, there are issues that will crop up.
Okay, and you know that, if you would have went to Lion's Den, the show, you would have been one of those like in the quick clips, like I want to take insect larva and make it animal feed. We would have saw you like in the commercials, whatnot. And does that ever, come into your mind to say, wait, we could really maybe, brand this a certain way by having, Olive, who is a friend of the show here, or Kevin or Chris, kind of, promote this, because it would sound crazy in a commercial, like a quick little 5-second clip. But then when you show the numbers and your success, you could end up getting a deal. Has that ever crossed the mind, or do you not need funding anymore?
I think for us, especially for me, what I've seen, especially I'll give you from experience, from especially 2018, we received quite a lot of money, I would say. But what I've seen is, for example, in building a business, money is not king. What's actually king is strategy and the structure you have in place. Because just after that, we pumped all the money in the business. And I can tell you, after 12 months, we were actually almost running bankrupt. So the thing is, it's not about the money. It's about the structure you have in your business. You may have a really bad structure, and you go out there, you get a lot of funding, but after 2 or 3 years, you have nothing to account for.
Yeah. Now I want to even go deeper on that money, because I'm glad you said you guys have it no more, because somebody will become knocking at the door saying, hey, I heard you can help me. But can you talk about, was it just in building too quick and buying too much and not being able to produce and being able to sell it, or was it putting the money into things that could have waited?
Yeah, so I think when we were starting, there wasn't a lot of info or research done on this field. So we were actually basically trying things out. So most of the funding went towards capex, and we found out that we had little money actually in running the business. So we were having a lot of liquidity issues, and this was really affecting the business. Looking back now, I'm saying if you had the proper structures and the strategy in place, I think we would have done a much better job. And sometimes I ask myself, what if that money had been a VC funding, and they're actually expecting returns for example, in 3 years or 4 years? That will be really something that will weigh down on the company and myself and my co-founder. So I think we learned quite a lot from that experience. And right now, the thing is for you to actually um, scale as a business, what I'll stress out is the structure and the strategy. If you put that in place, you have a good, solid um, structure in place, and then the other things will come in later. They'll just come naturally.
So that first funding, was that an angel, or what was that? Maybe you won a pitch competition. Where did that money come from?
It was actually a grant from a bank.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Hey, that's a great way to test the idea, because I think a lot of folks, they might hear this and think, wait, you get all this money, you can do whatever you want with it. And that's not necessarily true. But if it's a grant and you've already, you're trying something and it's a grant, that's
Yeah,
better than a vulture who would literally want to close your doors. And they, when venture capitalists give money, they say, we'll spend on 20 to hit on one, and the others, they really could care less. I'm part of a fund, actually. And all these investors, it's kind of clear that's what their thing is.
yeah,
And you're like, hold on, I don't personally like that model, but I get it. That's the venture vulture mentality.
yeah.
And you have a young team. I mean, people can go to your beautiful website and see you have a young team, and I love that, because we're all young. Some of us just have gray hairs in our hair just a little bit, but still under 40. And was that intentional to have a young team? Because I'm setting you up for your answer. I just want to say it.
Yeah.
I have nothing against the wisdom. I have mentors, who mentor me that are much older, but there's a difference when you're able to have a young team who understand technology because they grew up in this. So back to my question, was it intentional, or did things just kind of work out like that?
Yeah, I think for us starting all the way, it was really intentional in terms of innovation, especially. We were trying out a new product in the market. We couldn't know how this will go. The best way to do that is trying to find creative minds, things guys will actually see a problem and try and address it innovatively, give us new ideas, and see which of the ideas do we actually seriously have a look at and try and implement. So that was really key when starting the business. Of course, for you to scale, you'll also need uh, um, guys who've actually been in the business and know how things run. So for that, we've actually also on the admin side, we have an advisory board. So we take all these crazy ideas and now just pitch it to them and see which of them actually will make sense. So it's actually a fine balance between the two. But in terms of the day-to-day running of the business, I think young guys will do a much better job.
Okay, and we see that the countries, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, that have put young people in the forefront versus places like Cameroon, where your average person at top is 65 and older, and typing like this. There's a difference. But I also want to brag on you and congratulate you, because I know we said guys, and we said guys, folks, but he has women too. His co-founder is a woman, and his COO. And I think that a lot of times African companies run by men, it's like, oh man, this is just another good old boys club. But from the start, you've opened it up to say, I don't care what your sex is. I just need somebody who is capable. So I think that's a beautiful thing, and that should be highlighted, because that's not highlighted enough.
Yeah, that's actually true, especially with I've seen, especially with this sector. I think it may not be specific for me. I don't want to generalize this, but especially for the protein sector, you have to be really attentive to details. And good thing about especially women, they're really good at that. So on areas that you actually have to be very attentive to details in terms of the processes and stuff, what I've done intentionally is to put women in charge.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I like to do the same thing with our companies. You know, and I encourage even governments to do it. We might just see different results and get a different perspective. I mean, women are they are the majority anyway in the world. And so you can get the majority thinking process. Now, I remember downtown going through Nairobi, and a YouTuber of mine and a friend of mine, African Tigress, showed me something that just made me stop in Nairobi. And so I'm thinking about your company just off the top, and it was Jumia we passed by. And I looked at Jumia, and it was like, la la, like you could hear like in the movies, the angels sing. I stopped and I said, I got to check this out, because I said, oh, the Amazon of Africa. I just passed by. Your product looks like something that could be sold not just on Jumia, but I invest in Jumia small, but even on Amazon. Is that in the future where people can just order it on Jumia and or Amazon in the States?
So for us, our current strategy is mainly B2B. So our product is mostly inputs. So this input is mostly required by the manufacturers. So we provide protein that will be used to actually formulate the complete feed. So without the complete feed, without the protein, you can't have the complete feed. So naturally, a product will not go directly to the consumer, but it will pass through the feed manufacturer and then find its way to the end consumer. So in terms of also online shopping and stuff, I think that's an area we need to also really consider, not on the protein side, but also on the fertilizer side. I think that's an area we'll definitely have a look at.
Okay. And I say that because I was looking online on the packaging, and I said, oh, this is packaged, quite well. Like this could be, easily sent in a container or whatnot. So, and I'm always thinking too, I don't know if you've ever been to the States, but in Africa, the food is so much richer. Like you can taste the difference of, the meat, just, getting it right on the street. You taste the difference versus here. I mean, have you been to the States?
Not really. Not really. I haven't been to the States.
Okay. My wife is from Cameroon, and when she first came here, she would be like, oh, what are you guys, what are you feeding? Like this McDonald's and this processed stuff. She would just be ready to, spit it out, and she would. And to this day, I mean, it's 18 years later and she's still like, I can taste the difference, and I can taste it too. But, we're used to be addicted to McDonald's. That's what we grew up on. So we don't want to necessarily throw up. It's almost like maybe a comfort food for some. I try to stay away from it. As you can see, we try to stay fit, but I could see that being a selling point for a farmer saying we get our doo-doo meal. It's making our animals stronger, just like what you're eating overseas, because that's a big thing. Even if you go to Mexico, people will say, the food tastes different. Even the Cokes taste different. There's just different. So I could see that being a selling point. And we're doing all this talk about food. I just got to ask you, what is your favorite food?
I think my favorite is sushi. So there was a time I traveled to Japan, had a really nice tour, and that's where I actually fell in love with sushi. So for me, sushi all day.
Sushi all day, a very non-Kenyan answer, but
so for Kenyan food, I really like ugali and nyama choma. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, of course. I've had it. I've had it right there from Nairobi to Mombasa, yeah. And was and I don't know if you see this, but I mean, I keep my, my
Nice.
yeah. And you can't take it off. So no, I love that. In that, sushi, do you get real good sushi all over Kenya, or is there do you have to be in like the Westlands to get the best sushi? Who has the best sushi in Kenya?
There's a Japanese restaurant in Westlands. So I think for me, that's where I go. But I can't say I know the best sushi currently in Kenya. But there's my favorite restaurant.
Okay, awesome. Now, with all the success that you are having and that you're going to have in the future, what is a community give back that you are doing or that you want to do?
Yeah, I think for me, especially when starting out, partnerships with the local community played a key role in how we started and sustained the business. In terms of giving back, what we're actually trying to do is trying to now bring in more guys into what you call an outgrower model. This is where we're actually engaging the community, young guys also, to do insect farming. So we train these guys, we do contracts with them, we make them sign contracts, and then we train them, and then they use their own wastes at their local area. They collect their own waste, and then we provide them with the insects, more like an input or seeds. You know, the ways seed companies provide seeds to farmers for them to grow, and then they buy back. So we use the same model where we provide eggs to these young guys. They feed it on their waste, and then we buy back the protein and the fertilizer from them. This way, we are actually giving back to the society, whereby we're providing employment, and we're also scaling our capacity at the same time. I think you've been to Kenya, close to 60 to 70% of the population are young guys. And employment is really a big issue here. And one of the reasons why you find most of the young guys, actually, most of the innovations coming from Kenya, is because there are not a lot of jobs in the market. So people have to look for other ways to generate revenue. And what you're trying to do is trying to also try and address that problem.
And that's a great goal. People would say, hey, that's a great goal to have. And I think, hiring people is a great thing. But for the entrepreneur, even more importantly, that providing for families. But as long as you know in your mind you can provide for so many people, you'll never be broke. You'll never be without, because it's like the drive is, if I can provide for everybody else, I should be able to provide for myself, and, things are flowing. And, I look at what's happening right now in like Kibera, where, they're, and you don't have to comment on it if it's not something not of interest, but, people are getting kicked out of their homes without, a proper notice to be able to do something. But when I went through Kibera, I see a gold mine. I say, where can we buy? Where can we invest? And I know, a lot of that is government land, and that's some of the issues sometimes when you're in Africa, that the government has to be wanting to sell it to you. And a lot of times you have to be so big for them to, but sometimes it happens where you don't have to be big. So, I see so much opportunity there and so much talent that, we made a documentary through there that will be shortly on Amazon Prime with a client of mine. But there is so much talent from the universities to Kibera, and all people need is that opportunity. In the words of Nipsey Hussle, RIP, you always knew you were great. You just need a platform to explain it and show your greatness. And so that's a beautiful thing. And I don't want to give the people a game overload, but if you could leave the people with anything, of inspiration, please let it be known, and where they can find you to connect if they have something to contribute.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So for me, basically, what we've actually been doing with Ecodudu is more like a long-term approach or strategy. So we are here, especially in the African space, to stay. So we are intentional about 20, 30 years from now, you'll still find Ecodudu in the African market. Our main goal is to be ultimately the leading producer of alternative protein in the African market. Our main target is the African market. And the reason why we're doing that is, for example, Africa is home to the fastest growing population. I think by 2050, you'll have a third of the population in the world here in Africa. And we need solutions for this. We understand the market better than anyone else because we are actually based here. We talk to the clients. We are always also trying to see areas that we can always change. So my key point here is that we are always looking for partnerships, guys who we can work with, especially who are also interested in coming here in the African ecosystem. And if you want to find us, we are based in Nairobi. You can check us out on our website, www.ecodudu.com. You can also check us on Twitter at EcoduduKE. You can also check us on LinkedIn. You can find more information about us, our team, and our products.
Thank you. And, let me not end it with making sure, around the world, when you say doo-doo, it's pretty much universal. But is that where the name comes from? Just explain the name real quick before we sign off.
Yeah, so doo-doo means insect in Swahili.
Okay. Because, doo-doo worldwide, people are like, yeah. So I'm glad you broke that down and so people can know, because even though it means insect in Swahili, and here in America, people will see it as, feces and excrement. But wherever you go, it doesn't necessarily, it's not something that you want. It's something that you're usually trying to avoid. So whether it's an insect or if it's feces, you're trying to avoid it. And that just shows how humans are all kind of we're just one. We're just all crazy in our own, our own bubbles, but have similarities. So I thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kellen, for having me.